Alright, YouTube, here's part 2 of this repair that I'm doing. Alright, so after doing the floorboard on my car, replacing the floor pan, I went to the other side and noticed after I took a bunch of stuff up that there were little rot holes on the passenger side where I stated in the first video that there was no rot whatsoever, but obviously there was. But this is not on a, like I said in the first one also, it's not a tutorial on how to fix your car. But for people that really just started buying the car and they don't know the extent of the, see, I'm a fanatic, and they don't know the extent of the rust that this, where it occurs on these cars, I'll give you a little insight on what I found and how I can check them. All right, so this is the floor pan now. This is painted, and it's this is like glass right now. But what I want to point out is why these things rust, these floor pans, and why I took the dash out and everything, and why these bird cages rust. Why they rust. There's a new spot that I found that you're supposed to check where it's very critical. And when I say check, it's very difficult to check. But anyway, this is the passenger side. This is what happened and what I found. There was a little rot right here. Right here. I cut out a piece of metal and welded it in, and now this is paint. There was a little rot right here. Very little. I cut out a big piece. I cut out the cancer. I cut out a nice big piece of metal, welded it in. This is the bolt for the seat belt. I don't want paint to get on the threads, so I put the bolts in until I'm ready to put it back in. There was another spot. Oh, right here. Right here, there was a little rot along here, but I went and cut it all out. There was a little hole right here. I welded that in, and there was a little hole right here. I welded that in. All right, now let's get back to the bird cage. Where these things leak, it starts. What I found here, I don't know if you can see, but in here there's like a little hole. And what happens is, all the Corvettes have that. Well, most of them that I've seen, they say they leak from here and they go inside. The big problem here is right under here, this fender is riveted to the bird cage. So there's no way you can see the rot here, or if it's rotted. That's the one problem. So what I did was, I went under here. Now you see this right here? This is the part where the fender is riveted to. So what I did was I drilled a little hole here. And I got a light in there. And I poked around to see if there's rot on the other side. That's the only way to see this. There's no way you can see what's going on the other side of this. So what you can do is, if you have a C3, is drill a hole here. I'm gonna patch that up later. I'm gonna put a plug so no moisture gets in, and get a flashlight in there, and you can see if it's rotted away. But this is my bird cage. I took it all apart. This is my that's silicone and paint in there. That's the kick panel. Those are my new body bushings. The guy who had this before me had a shitload of silicone here. He had silicone all over this thing, which in a way is, if you don't correct it out on the outside from getting in, and it gets in past that and it comes here, what happens is, if you put silicone here, it's just going to sit here, the water's just going to sit inside these cavities and just rot away. So you got to get it to the source and keep it out from getting here. So all the silicone in the world is not going to help you. It'll stop it from coming in here, but it's not going to stop it from sitting inside and rotting away. So that's where I am right now. So I fixed a little hole right here. This stuff here is POR 15 filler and sealer. That's what you want. This stuff dries like rock solid hard, but it's flexible on top of it. That's the irony of that. What else? That's basically it. If you're okay here and up here in the cage, and this is the critical area right here. See, this part sits in here. How the hell are you supposed to see what's going on? You can't. This fender's bonded to this part, and that's where they rot. They rot in here. The water comes down, leaks, comes in here, and it just gets cancer. It just spreads out through the whole thing. So like I said, I put a light in there with a mirror. I poked around. I see no rot. It's actually pretty clean in there. The color looks like this. It's gray like this. So I lucked out. See, this is one part that if it was rotted, I'd be screwed. I'd be very depressed right now that the money I put into this thing. But that's it. While I'm at it, I'm cleaning up the wiring. I did the same thing on the other side. You could see all the silicone. This thing was just bombarded with silicone. I mean, this guy did not want to go to the source. He just went from underneath. But anyway, that's my floor pans painted. I'm going to just tighten it up. I'm going to vacuum in here nice. I'm going to give it another coat maybe. But C3 owners, check your bird cage. Check the kick panels. Right there. And if you want some sense of security on investing into your car, I suggest that you drill that little hole there like I did. Get a light in there. You could, you know what, actually, if you're really that concerned, I would even go as far as like maybe cutting this out, because I don't know if this is a support. That's why I didn't really go that crazy, because it might be an actual support structure. But drill a little hole there. Poke around with a pick, because if it's right on the other side of this, you're definitely going to go through it. You're going to feel that it's going to be brittle, and you're going to go right through it. I don't need to tell you that. And get a flashlight in there, and you can see pretty much if it's rusted. Fortunately, I got lucked out on that one. So I lucked out with the frame around the windshield. That's all the poor paint you see. That's really, really thick. Another mistake I made was when you buy this paint, you got to buy the degreaser and then the metal prep. I didn't do that. So you could see it in some spots, it just flakes off, like right here. See this? If it's shiny and clean, it's just going to flake off. Fortunately, I wire brushed underneath the windshield. I wire brushed. I tried to pick it off, it couldn't. But here I just did it like over the weekend, and it just comes right off. So degreaser, metal prep. I'll show you what I used. The filler sealer from Pour 15. I highly recommend that. Highly, highly recommend that. So right now, I filled in this gap right here. Look at that. This is like rock hard, but it's flexible. I'm working on in here, sealing all that off. All these little cracks and crevices. That the bond that they put on in the factory, it's not really that good. And then after I get what I want, the foundation, I'm going to put a sheet of fiberglass. I'm going to put some fiberglass cloth with resin, and then more of this stuff, and that should take care of that leak. Which, if it's not leaking here, you probably have the leak with the rot here. But fortunately, I had the little crack, a seam here that was the water was getting through, which made me concerned about this. I started doing research, and I found out that behind this, it's you can't see it. See, that's the frame I was showing you. So you got to be, drill that hole and make sure that's clean, because if it's not clean, you either got to take the fender off, replace it, repair, weld, patch, do whatever you got to do, or just move on to another car. Same thing on the other side. Same thing on this side. I did the seam. I took the wiper thing off, the wiper arm. This, people might think this is hollow, but it's not. Under here, it's this with these 4 holes, and there's a cap on the other side. I'll show you. You just got to put silicone on the other side. That'll take care of that. I'm patching this up here. See? All these little cracks over time, they just open up, and then water just gets in. This is the cap. This cap right here goes right here for the wiper motor. So you fill that with silicone, clean it, put it right there. That'll take care of that. Makes sense to do that while you got the dash out. See? See, I made the hole here too. Right there. Now I can look in there and it's nice and clean. It's just it's gray as it is over here. So that little hole right there, this is a critical part that you got to check. You got to make sure that this part right here, there's no rot there. No rot. You can see where this guy just went to town with the silicone. See that, all that silicone? He just went to town. He just smeared the shit out of this. You know, but he did what he had to do. You know, his concern was getting that water not to leak in there. See, he's got silicone on every seam. See? So what I'm doing is I'm cleaning all this silicone, because if water's in there, I want it to come out. I don't want it sitting in there. But I'm trying to keep the water out. That's my bird cage again. I'm very proud of my bird cage. I don't know why I keep bringing that up, but I love the fucking bird cage, because you see these horror shows, these images on the internet, these bird cages. I mean, oh my God, they're just horrible. It just scares you to death. I was like, I never want water to hit this car ever. This is the other part at the back of the frame. Very nice. Nice and clean. I'll tell you, it's like babysitting constantly with these cars. And that's about it, guys. I mean, I hope you appreciate this. Not a master YouTuber, but if you can get any help from what I'm showing you, and, you know, ideas and stuff, and if we can bounce stuff ideas, if you happen to watch this, that's great. And that's it. I'm going to make sure all these water leaks are done before I put everything back together. All right, guys. Talk to you later.